All right, so welcome everybody. We're happy to have you here. For the first part of our forum tonight, we're going to have each candidate do a short introduction. And Mather, we're going to start with you.
Do I get a mic or just stand up?
You can have this mic for now, because we're going to see if we can find you a better one, but use this for now.
Well, I've been told that my voice carries, so I try to use the mic.
Okay.
So I don't yell. But Matt Dogwillow, running for Park Board. Currently, I've been here for 25 years in Minneapolis, off and on a little bit, but it's given me the opportunity to see other park systems. I most recently was living in Milwaukee, and that's where I really had reconstituted my love for Minneapolis, because while it's a great city, I had little kids, and we use the parks every day, and it was 2.5 miles away, and I think the neighborhood parks are something that we really have that's a gem here. So I came back, and I've got my kids in all the programs. I do tech consulting, and I've just found it really, really difficult for them to get in, and that was kind of, when I found out there weren't anybody who currently had little kids, that was why I decided to run. I had the support of my council member and some other commissioners on the board that really wanted me to do it, and mostly I just want to make people's lives easier. I'm going to try to use my tech background, and that's going to be my focus. Not the only thing I want to do, not my only idea, but definitely where I really feel that I can add value to the board.
Thank you so much, Mather. Meg, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thank you, Vanessa, and thank you all for being here. My name is Meg Forney. I'm running at large, and I am serving my 12th year. I'm just humbled to be able to serve this phenomenal park system that defines the quality of life of the city. My number one objective is to continue the our system equity investment. What? Oh, thank you. Okay, whatever. I'll use them all. Anyway, to finish our system equity investment, which means in the underserved areas of our community, to continue to make access to those communities, to grow our canopy because we have huge health disparities, heat islands, and the last thing is to work on alternative revenue streams. Those are things that I have been working on for my past 12 years, but there's so much more to do. As I indicate, there are 23 miles of public lake shore, but it's all in South and Southwest Minneapolis. North and Northeast Minneapolis do not have that type of access, and that is what I'm really working hard on, what we call above the falls in the Mississippi. So please consider voting for me, number one.
Meg, thank you so much. Amber, please introduce yourself.
Thank you. Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. My name is Amber Frederick, and I am proud to be your only DFL Labor and Women Winning endorsed candidate for Minneapolis Park Board at Large. I am here tonight to earn your first choice vote because I believe that our Minneapolis public park should be a place where girls and all youth have the opportunity to grow up strong. Unfortunately, there are disparities that exist that I believe I am uniquely situated and able to take on. As a youth support specialist at the YMCA, I understand how important our parks are to our young people, and I am dedicated to making sure that their needs and our young people across the city have the ability to thrive and create community inside of our beautiful systems. So thank you all so much for being here, and I can't wait to talk more.
Yeah. Amber, thank you so much. Mary, the mic is yours.
Hello, everybody. Is this working?
You should get close.
Okay. Hello, everybody. It is so nice to share with you in a surprisingly sharing moment in this whole event. Thank you for all being here. I hope to speak with each of you, and I hope to earn your number one vote. My name is Mary McKelvey, and I'm running for Park Board at Large. And I'm in the parks every day working with youth, and I'm working with people of all ages and abilities. I work with the Lopet Foundation, currently with Northside Adventure Team. We work year-round. We work on mountain biking, we work on orienteering. We really enjoy being in the parks. every day. I want to bring that to people in all different parks in this city. I have a lot of experience I think I have the most experience as a multifaceted park user. I'm the only mother in this race who has raised her kids through the Minneapolis parks and schools. I get it. I understand what it's like to work with all different aspects of being in the parks, and I want to have our shared spaces be welcoming and be a place of belonging for all of us. Thank you. I hope to earn your #1 vote.
Mary, thank you so much. Tom, you have the mic.
Hi everyone, my name is Tom Olson. I am currently an at-large commissioner serving alongside Meg. I am running for re-election to serve another 4 years due to, for a couple, important reasons. Number one is climate action. We are in the middle of a climate crisis and we need our park board to be doing every single thing they can do to, one, stem the tide of carbon emissions, and two, make sure that our park system is resilient so that our next generations are going to be able to enjoy the same assets that we have now. There have been several votes in this past 4 years where the park board has sided with status quo forces and refused to take the boldest action possible on climate action. That is something that I'm running to change. I also fought against youth cuts and currently fighting, in our current budget, we'll be pushing against fee increases and pushing off hiring critical youth positions. When we disinvest in our youth, we disinvest in our city and we fail our city. So I'll wrap it up there. There's a lot more to talk about, but thank you for being here and thanks for listening.
Thank you. Adam.
Hi everyone, my name is Adam Schneider, he and pronouns. I am obviously running at large. I hope this is the right room for that. My background is in food and energy justice. I'm an organizer by trade, which that was not a great sign.
It's fine, it's fine.
Yeah. So I work every day to increase food access and help people lower their energy bills while investing in renewable energy. I'm running because of the current park board's failures over the past 4 years, such as the Emerald Ash Borer issue, which put undue financial hardship onto many families in Minneapolis. And another failure, I believe, is the handling of the park workers' strike. The fact is that outside of a couple of commissioners, there was no leadership on the board to rein in the superintendent and some of the workers. But I'm also running to expand many of our park system successes, our community garden programs, our Rec Plus childcare programs, things that deliver for Minneapolis families. I do have to wrap up, so here you go.
Hi everyone, my name is Avery M. Turner, and I am so excited to be here. A little nervous, but I know that once we get going, I'll be all right. I am running because I find it very important to bring my background to this board. I'm an educator, I am a health educator, I have a business administration background, and like I said, I am with the kids during the day, and at night I am using the parks. I play kickball in the parks, so I just want it to be a space where everybody has access, all neighborhoods have access. I want it to be a space where we are leaving great spaces for generations to come, and I also just want it to be a space where I'm learning. I always have my scholar hat on, so not just looking to just give my voice, but also looking to listen to folks' voices and be able to use all of our voices to build a better park system that is currently already here. So grateful to be here again and looking to earn your #1 vote. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, candidates. So now we're going to go into our first round of questions. Avery, we're going to start with you this evening. Our first question is, how should the park board balance compassion for people experiencing homelessness with the need to keep parks open and accessible to the public?
Thank you for that question, Vanessa.
Very well.
I think first things first is stories are important. No matter where we come from, no matter our backgrounds, it takes time to learn from one another and really understand why we're accessing our park spaces. And I'm sorry, Vanessa, may you say it one more time?
Absolutely. How should the park board balance compassion for people experiencing homelessness with the need to keep parks open and accessible to the public.
Got it. So I was on the right track. But I also, just to add to my answer, I think that it's important to know that our park spaces are for everyone, no matter what is the background. And as long as we're able to keep it open in terms of keeping the meetings open for all people, no matter what their background is, I feel like we'll be able to understand what the story is and what brings them to the spaces. And then once we have that understanding as commissioners, again, understanding folks' stories will hopefully drive what our decisions will be. So I think that's how we'll be able to balance the both of them.
Homelessness is a huge issue, very blanket statement. And I think we really need to work with our partners in the city about this, but as an immediate response, the park board already has a great team in the Street Reach team that are, as a community ambassador program that does outreach, that makes community connections, actually connects people to resources that they need. So that is one program that I'm hoping to radically expand, and in turn, hopefully just give the dignity and stability that our unhoused neighbors need.
Yeah, so, kind of as Adam mentioned there, a lot of this is working with our intergovernmental partners to make sure that we have the resources and we are coordinating with folks as optimally as possible. In that, if there, are, county, city solutions and, they need spaces, they need land, they need, some coordination with us, I'm happy to be there. I'm happy to offer up the resources we do have. I think what we did find 4 years ago was that the park board was fairly ill-equipped to take that on ourselves. So I'm happy to be a partner, and I think we should be a partner. We just have to make sure it's within our capacity. Within that, though, I think we can absolutely expand, what we do in the services we offer in coordination with state and county at our, community centers. I think we could, have spaces for social workers. We could have spaces for, mental health connections. We could have spaces where folks know that they can go there if they are, in need of various things, and they can go to our community centers and they can find the resources they need. So that's kind of the sort of partnership and coordination that I would like to see us expand.
Thank you for this important question. As Tom mentioned before, the park board did experiment with allowing overnight camping for people experiencing homelessness, and they came to the conclusion that the partnerships with other government agencies for overnight with camping is, especially Hennepin County, is a partner that we're working with more. That said, the parks are absolutely a place to show compassion, and I want to develop the community connections and violence prevention program. I want to increase resources that we have in the rec centers, and education and awareness and sharing of resources for anyone experiencing homelessness who comes to our shared public spaces where they should absolutely be welcome and feel like they belong during the day.
Mary, thank you so much. Amber, you have the mic.
Thank you. I mentioned my introduction. I'm a youth support specialist at the YMCA, so I spend my 9 to 5 working with 18 to 24-year-olds experiencing homelessness in Hennepin County. The perspective that we can glean from young people in terms of what they need, I believe, is where we need to begin. We have to begin with what resources are missing. I'm also proud to be endorsed by Angela Conley, our Hennepin County Commissioner, and Oreen Chowdhury, Ward 12 Council member, and I believe that building upon these partnerships that I've built in my professional life, alongside strong, really compassionate leaders, is going to be what brings us into a style of service in our park system where we're able to meet the needs of those who find themselves in the parks without the proper resources. I believe we can build those partnerships together, and I am proud of the work that's being done already, and I can't wait to continue it.
Mike?
Thank you. I'll just go back in history. When the pandemic started and George Floyd was murdered, the governor declared no evictions. We, though, did start to remove the encampments, and we were told by the governor's office that was not our authority. We then made a permit system and declared that really our number one priority was to protect the youth in our community. And so, so many feet within a school, what was how we made those parameters. That was the first year, like I said, of the pandemic. Since then, we have not had any encampments, and I have to give full credit to our staff. The street reach, as Adam mentioned and everything, plus we have our community connections and violence prevention. They develop relationships, and I think that is so critical to make sure that we are getting to people and giving them the services that they need. And that is what our staff has made strong connections with those resources and is able to get people into them. And I'm grateful for that.
Meg, thank you so much. Matthew, you have the mic.
Matthew.
I'm sorry.
Matthew.
So sorry.
Matt is fine. But anyway, a few years ago, I helped co-create an event called the Red Affair, and we were able to donate over $100,000 to Avenues for Youth. And I love their mission, I love their commitment, and I believe that, and I love the park mission, but I do not believe that the park's mission is to support encampments or to support homeless people. I really want to help people, and I believe, and we've raised money, and we've done that, and we've supported the organizations that do. But as a father, I can't bring, it's no longer a public good, it's no longer a neighborhood park if I can't bring my kids there. If they see drugs, if they see people using it incorrectly, it's no longer a public space. And while I fully wish there were things that we could do more for them, and I'm so glad that we have other services that do help them, but I don't believe that's the park's mission. I do tech consulting, and my main job is to align people to the mission of the business and the organization and the services that we provide. And I believe it's to keep a public service for everyone. And while I value the parks and the outdoors as it brings so much benefit to mental health, and I welcome people to come use the parks, just as all of you are welcome to come use it within operating hours, without drinking, without smoking, and following all the rules that we ask everyone to follow. So I believe everyone should follow those rules.
Matthew, thank you so much. You are going to start off with our next question, which is going to be, how would you ensure resources are distributed equitably across the city? You have the mic.
I think I actually applaud some of the work that the past board has done in trying to diversify revenue, because I think that's probably the most important thing to being able to spread any kind of money. I really believe that we have an excellent park system. We should be focused on prioritizing and maintaining the park systems that we have, and we should be focused on getting attendance benchmarks. Setting. I would like to set attendance benchmarks and really create that as a North Star metric for the park board. That's where I feel like I would really fit in and add value, because I think oftentimes it's excellent to have a program, but speaking as a father, I've tried to sign up for things and I haven't been able to. I was actually talking to a friend the other day, and he told me about this awesome program that his 12-year-old did around Lake Nokomis. It's really cost effective. She signed up, her best friend signed up, and there was one other girl. And it was the absolute coolest program. It's like this outdoor program where they go biking. And I think, I'm proud of being part of a system that has that. And I'm disappointed that we didn't have more people part of it. And that's why I want to make it easy for people to sign up for things.
Thank you so much. Meg, you have the mic.
Thank you. 10 years ago, I was one of the lead commissioners in establishing what's called our neighborhood park plan for 20 years. And a part of that, we established our racial equity matrix. It is the first ever in the country, and it is looking at things equitably. I'm not sure if you said equally or what equitably, but I'm going to speak to equity. And that is to make sure that, yes, we look at our assets, okay, and see how the condition is, but we also look at the demographics to see whether or not we are serving the people who are in most need. And that is how we have been leading for the past 10 years on virtually everything that we do. And I'm very, very proud of that. and that to me is why I want to continue to run, is because equity is the #1 driver. That it is my passion, it is my mantra, and I want to continue that work.
Thank you, Meg. Amber, you have the mic.
So the Park Board has been studying the gaps in our system for over 20 years. And we know where those gaps exist. We know they exist for our BIPOC youth. And we know they exist for girls in this city. What we saw in 2022 was a move away from youth as the #1 priority to #3. And our actionable items that had impact directly in the community in terms of programming became studied again. And we know where the gaps are for equity in this city. It has been religiously studied by the Park Board. I believe in order to get back to a place of true equity, we need to turn that equity into action. So we need to continue to prioritize actionable items that have direct impact on our city. I myself am a North Sider, and I feel poised as a North Sider to be able to sit on a board citywide and continue to bring in voices and my neighbors' voices into that conversation as well.
So how would I bring equity into the city? Is that the...
How would you ensure resources are distributed equitably across the city?
Through the parks, I would make sure that resources are distributed equitably through the city, through continuing to follow what's listed out in the racial equity matrix that we've that has been spelled out, and it is publicly available. It is frustrating sometimes when it's a 20-year plan and we have 7,000 acres and over 180 parks for people to see that actually happening in their local park. And I, as a commissioner, will be responsive to questions about when things are going to happen for the community's local park. I am doing the work right now to ensure that BIPOC community is getting more engaged. I'm working with Youth in North Minneapolis right now. I think relationships are super important in addition to the scientific matrices, and I will continue to build relationships with communities of color, with communities who are underserved, and I want to get into the rooms where I'm going to be asked uncomfortable questions, and I'm going to ask uncomfortable questions as well.
Yeah, well, so as at-large commissioners, we have a unique role in that we serve the entire city. Now, often what that means as an at-large commissioner is that we have folks who are sort of, I would say kind of status quo ingrained, sort of understand the process, sort of have privilege, have power. They are often the ones that are in our ears telling us what to do. And something that I have consciously done as a commissioner and will continue to do is prioritize, the communities who, don't necessarily have, the resources to continuously, be I don't want to say manipulating the process, but putting a hand on the scale of the decisions that we make. So that's number one. Number two, we have had a lot of success with certainly our neighborhood park funding and our racial equity matrix. We're also having large North Commons investment, largest in our history. That's fantastic. We have something coming in the works, coming up the pipeline with Cedar Riverside, and that's going to be big. But really, 50% of our budget right now is in environmental stewardship, which includes maintenance of all our assets. Most of our assets are concentrated in the southwest, wealthy areas part of our town. And so that means that, most of our budget is devoted to spaces that already have significant assets. And so kind of to a little bit of what Amber's saying, we need to increase our investment in youth, make that a priority, increase creating more assets in these parts of our city, because right now, just as a baseline, our budget is not completely equitable. So we have to kind of dig into that and upgrade what we're doing.
So, according to the Trust for Public Land, of the top 10 park systems in the nation, we are the second worst in equity. It is the thing keeping us from becoming number one again. And this is mainly because our parks were developed along redlining, racial covenants, essentially things that kept parks primarily for richer, whiter neighborhoods. And I kind of want to echo something that Amber said, is that we've been studying this for years on end, and we know where these areas that we need to invest in are. They are our green zones, they are our cultural districts. We know which neighborhoods that we have not invested in because we do not have assets there. And I have worked with many of these communities in Whittier and Stevens Square and East Phillips, and they're ready to partner with the park board and bring resources into their neighborhood, whether it be through their neighborhood organizations, other community partners. They're ready to work with us, and I'm ready to work with them.
Adam, thank you so much. Avery, the mic is yours.
So first things first, I think it's super important that we be open to feedback. I think that feedback comes when people are invested, and as long as folks are willing to whether come to the meetings and tell us how they feel, or whether we're going out to them and listening and hearing like what they think we should be doing, I think that's the number one thing in terms of how we're able to diversify what's going on in our park system. And another thing that I think that is super important when it comes to getting resources spread out equitably is looking to our neighbors. A lot of the times when we're using our equity matrix and we're looking at infrastructures, our neighbors are able to do some of the things that are happening with our infrastructure that we're reaching out to these big businesses for. So how are we tapping into our neighbors? How are we bringing them in? How are we saying, hey, we have a project that needs to be done at this park or here? How can we lean on them to be able to keep the resources within our communities instead of taking them outside of our neighborhood? So I think those are the most important things. But for sure, number one, feedback. We have to be listening to what our neighbors want and need within our parks so that we're able to then move accordingly. Thank you.
Avery, thank you so much. We are now going to open up, after thanking everybody for your responses. We are now going to open up for audience questions. We have time for a few audience questions. So, to you, our lovely audience, if you do have a question, Benicio is sitting in the mic up front. Come up to the mic with your question. You want to make your question short so that we can get as many questions in as possible. So, are you ready to go? All right, whoever would like to come up first, come on up.
Part of the mission statement of the park board is protecting wildlife. There are a lot of things we can do, like prioritizing bird-safe class or wildlife passages, continuing to reduce the carbon footprint. What will you do to protect wildlife in the parks?
We will start with Avery.
Thank you for that question. I think that's a very important question, and I think most importantly is to tap in with the organizations that are already doing that. We can have our own, or I can have my own understanding of what that looks like, but again, as an at-large commissioner, it's important that I'm listening to the folks of the city, and for me, it'll just be listening to what is the best thing to be able to do, and then whatever is in our preview as commissioners, being able to then lean on what we're able to do to then be able to partner with the organization. So that would be how I think I could do that as a park board at-large commissioner.
Yeah, so I'm in favor of reintroducing wildlife to many of Minneapolis park sites. For example, like Hiawatha, the master plan calls for some reintroduction, I do believe. Thank you, Tom, for checking me on that. But in addition to that, something I'm very passionate about is the gardening and habitat restoration work that the park board does, and I would love to see us continue that work along the Mississippi River and introduce things like pollinator gardens and pollinator pathways throughout the city.
Yeah, so, great question. We are doing a lot of good, so Adam mentioned Hiawatha, converting Hiawatha from 18 holes of golf to 9 holes of golf and restoring our wetlands and Lake Hiawatha to what it was, Bidet Piscine, Rice Lake, is huge. And we have to continue to implement those ambitious goals across our city. Our park system was kind of designed, under Theodore Wirth as a very, homocentric, and I'm absolutely game for converting some of those kind of entrenched spaces into, new areas. Also, I think we have way too much turf grass. That is something I said when I initially got in. Luckily, with Graco, we are, our new park there, we are introducing kind of pollinator grass, a different sort of mix. But overall, if you go down really any of our parks, you're going to see way too much turf grass. And we need to have kind of an extensive sort of look at that, at reducing that where possible. It would also help a lot with maintenance and mowing. It's super expensive. There's a lot of other things we can do as well. I think we can kind of use our voice as well as, park board commissioners to advocate for, regional projects that help stuff like this. We had that cougar that died on the way here. On the way to Minneapolis, we need to advocate for, corridors for our wildlife to get in and out of the city. And I think that's something that we can do.
Thank you for this question, and this is a great chance to say that wildlife does exist already in our Minneapolis parks, and they need to, there's deer, there are beaver, there are muskrat and otters. One of the things I would want to do for low-hanging fruit for wildlife is education, signage. When you go at the entrance of Worth Park, like deer crossing, we have turtle crossing signs. We could have some deer crossing signs and also other kinds of animal crossing signs. That's just real simple. Also, ecological restoration for both the water and our lands will increase, will help our wildlife as well. Education on how to interact with wildlife, because many urban people think that they don't want to interact with it, and I want to encourage that sharing of our space together with wildlife, and teach people how to treat wildlife in a humane way. Thank you for that question. I look forward to ecological restoration in our parklands.
The first thing that came to mind when you asked that question was, what resources are we allocating in terms of protecting and conserving? And I think the park board could continue to allocate more funding for specifically positions that sit and work on these issues within the park board. So positions that are dedicated to ecological restoration. Minneapolis Park Board is one of the, I believe, the biggest landowner in Minneapolis, and that is not our land. It is the Dakota and Anishinaabe homelands as well. So I believe that in order to be in alignment with, 7 generations policy, we also need to restore a full-time Indigenous liaison position that can talk to us about how do we actually be in right relationship with this land, and not just come from a colonized perspective onto it, but to allow that information that already exists to give us that feedback that Avery was talking about. Thank you.
Amber, thank you so much. Meg?
Thank you. Yes, trees are my big passion. I'm real proud of the fact that we have doubled the amount of trees that we would normally plant, and that is a huge thing. It will decrease heat islands, air quality will be improved, etc. We now have a stormwater fund to address the stormwater that's going into our bodies of water, and all of those things will increase the livelihood of our wildlife. I'm real proud of the fact that we work very proactively with our watershed districts. The Mississippi Watershed District has been amazing in the things that they have done, just the sculpture garden. Anyway, up and down the Mississippi, it's really been wonderful. Anyway, I remember, 10, 12 years ago, somebody reached out to me about the turtles. They're crossing the roads, whatever. And look, get signs out. Government is slow. but it will eventually turn. It's like a barge, okay? So I just want to remind people of the fact also that mussels were completely depleted in the Mississippi, and they have returned. So those are like the, what should we say, the canary in the coal mine, and I'm very, very excited about what's happening in the Mississippi.
Meg, thank you. Matthew, you have the mic.
Cool. Yeah, actually, this is something I feel pretty passionate about. When I was in college, I worked for the milfoil lab and studied a lot of invasive species. And, you know, in the case of milfoil anyway, I think it's pretty sad because I think it's kind of irreparably damaged our systems here. And it's obviously changed the way that people use the lakes and everything because, you know, we found that it actually really preferenced a lot of small sunfish and kind of hurt the larger muskie. And so, you know, obviously everything is connected in the chain of, in the ecosystem, everything is connected and dependent upon each other. So I guess I'm somebody who really believes in science and experts. I really like the idea of working with groups that are specifically working on specific, you know, invasive species or specific wildlife, because I think we should be deferring to them. I think that's also somewhere that, again, I think that's something that I can provide value to on the board, is being willing to talk to those people, being willing to bring them in, and really trying to take a look from their perspective and from their understanding so that we can outsource to the experts.
All right. Yeah, thank you. To make it the most concise, will you support the enactment of the Minneapolis Park and Rec Board's adopted long-range plan for the Hiawatha Golf Course?
This is the number one asked question that I've been asked in this campaign. I currently do not support going ahead with the compromise plan originally. I really, really like the plan. I believe in compromise in general, and I like it a lot. I'm also personally a mountain biker, and my kids like to ski, so all of it really appeals to me. But I work for Tree Trust, and I also put in all the retaining walls around that park and around the driving range, and I really love it. I also, so what I did is I went and talked on Tuesday to the Tuesday Night Golfers Club, and I met this old grandpa guy, and he explained it a little bit more into detail to me, and it just came out that essentially there's a lot of facts that are not clear. And and the thing that I do for work, again, is really help people define numbers, help people define facts. And I thought it was really disingenuous of the people that were arguing for the plan, that they weren't clear about the cost of pumping. They said it was high, but then you go down and find out it's $6,000 a year. They said it floods all the time, but you find out from this guy that in his 40 years of golfing, it's only flooded twice, you know? And I don't think that we should be taking that resource away from that community, especially with the plans that they have. And, you know, and this kind of goes back to the equity question, but golf is a business sport, and, you know, they were talking about bringing people in from the north side, and whether it's the only place they can play, and teaching kids golf who would never learn. And I think that affects their future, and we should continue to give them that opportunity, at least at this time.
Matthew, thank you so much. Meg, you have the mic.
Yes, I definitely support the plan. I will indicate to you, though, that 12 years ago, I was not in favor because I felt, hey, if they can do it in the Netherlands, you know, have golf courses, why can't we do it here? Until I realized, it was a friend of mine's house that I had sold her many years ago, the basement had collapsed. Anyway, the realization of just how huge that watershed is. And I have to say that that is the exciting thing, is that the Minnehaha Watershed District has been addressing the water issues upstream and have been literally chomping on the bit to get into Minneapolis to hold the city accountable, because they are really one of the biggest obstructions to addressing the water issues in that area. And we have come across, I think it's 6 projects that the city and the park board and the watershed have agreed upon, that, like I say, we found agreement. So we are advancing with all of those things, and I am very excited to better the water quality that's coming through our city.
Thank you, Meg. Amber, you have the mic.
Yes, where you are. There you are, Lee. I am in support of the Hiawatha Golf Course plan. I'm interested in moving our city forward, and I think the future of that area is to be, again, in right relationship with the ecologic foundation of that area. I know there's been maybe what some might consider a dearth of flooding, but that historically is massive. We are in the throngs of climate crisis, and we need to do everything we can in order to preserve what we have, and that includes the Hiawatha Golf Course and the wetlands that it sits on. In terms of equity, I think that it opens up a door in terms of what we need to address for the Black golf community. It meant a lot, and I know that it really seems like a slight to the group of people that historically found community there. So I'm interested in furthering this plan and furthering conversations on how do we rebuild equity and community specifically for this group.
Yes, I support the plan. And I look forward to a cleaner Lake Hiawatha. I look forward to restoration of ecological environment. I look forward to working with indigenous communities on greater stewardship of Piscine. I look forward to talking to the Black golfers and talking to them about the 3 different proposals for the new 9-hole course. I'd look to them on to what exact shape, but I'm really excited that there are 55 acres of new wetlands that will clean the lake, and it will restore it will reduce pumping, it will restore natural land. So I look forward to that.
Yeah, I do support it, and I'll do everything in my power to bring it into fruition. I also support the plan. I think it's vital for that area's climate resiliency and habitat restoration. In addition, there has been just a ton of issues for nearby homeowners in addition to flooding. Some homeowners have reported golf balls hitting their houses, so that is something to consider. But yeah, I think it will be a challenge to push through. It is a pretty high bill, but I'm looking forward to working with our state and federal partners to get that funding. As well as with our indigenous community and the Black golfers to figure out how we can honor the site's history, legacy, and future.
Thank you so much. Avery, you have the mic.
Thank you, and thank you for that question. Yes, I will say that I do support the plan, and as I'm supporting that plan, pushing to make sure that we're getting feedback. I'm gonna keep going back to that. That's probably gonna be my word for the night. Because I think that's super important. There are a few different people who are a few different groups that will be involved in that, and it's super important that we keep them close to ensure that what the goal of that space is still the forefront of the park board commissioners. Thank you.
It is me, Dan, D1 candidate. So the 22-day long strike, would you support a labor committee chaired by a commissioner with workers on it, representative of the workforce, and commissioners being engaged in bargaining and all things labor relations through that committee? That's a yes or no. And if not, explain why not. And also what your thoughts were on the strike and how long we can consider ourselves the #1 park system when we have such a labor relations failure. Thank you.
Woo, that was a loaded question. Okay, so first things first, I think that all voices are important in order for us to be able to move the work forward. So I am in full support in terms of having as many voices at the table to ensure that we are keeping the park board's mission at the forefront of what we do as park board commissioners. So that's #1. 2, ooh, dang, you might have to get back up to the mic with the question. I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah, would you support a labor committee chaired by a commissioner and workers on that committee as well?
Okay, and yes, love the question. Thank you so much for the question. I think that, again, it's important to have the voices in the room for us to be able to do the work together. So what that looks like in terms of having partnership with labor unions, with labor workers, I'm all for it. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. Thank you for that question.
Avery, thank you so much. Adam?
So I kind of spoke to this in my intro. The handling of the strike was an absolute failure of leadership on the park board. It hurt everyone involved. Not only did our workers have 3 weeks of unreliable pay, but in addition to that, many of our services had to go unattended. So ultimately, I'm not sure why the superintendent wanted to make it go so long, but I'm glad that the workers stuck it out and got the deal that they did. I joined them on the picket line a couple of times, although I have to admit one time I did have to go home halfway through for dinner with the in-laws, but if that's my most anti-union action ever, I think I'm pretty good. And yes, I do support forming a labor committee headed by a commissioner, that's the word. And no matter what, I look forward to working with our union workers and leadership to make sure that the park board is a great place to work, that has great benefits, and that people want to work there and that they can actually work there and live in the community that they serve.
Before we go on with the next answer, thank you so much, Adam. Tom, you will have the mic in a second. After this question, we are going to switch to 45-second responses just to keep time, okay? But for now, we're good to go. Tom, you have the mic.
Yeah, I absolutely support the creation of that committee. In fact, it's something that I've, sort of similar, not that exact sort of envisioning of it. I have had multiple conversations with Commissioner Bangora about how, we did a survey with our workers about how they feel that management, is kind of treating them. And the number one word, we had a word, one of those collages, the number one word was toxic. And to have that sort of committee, to have that space where management and workers and commissioners can come together and start to rebuild those burnt bridges, that is the number one thing we need to do to avoid the next strike. Because let me tell you, going through that strike was miserable for everyone involved. It was really not fun, obviously, number one for workers, but for commissioners and staff trying to work through that, it really wasn't pleasant. And you kind of mentioned having commissioners within the negotiation process. I think that is absolutely critical that we are in there when we are hearing these negotiations, because my experience as a commissioner was having completely different stories told to me from folks on different sides, and those kind of again, the bridges were burnt. St. Paul School Board, actually, their commissioners, they sit in on negotiations, and what they have found is that it reduces tension, it increases accountability, and they have really had a lot of success with that. So it is absolutely a role that we should advance as a park board, and it would be an incredible boon for our workers and our management and our entire park board system.
Tom, thank you so much. Mary, you have the mic.
Hello, thank you for that question. I too would want to avoid any future strike, and I want to make sure that park workers feel like they are have the wages and benefits and training that they need to live and work in the city if they choose, and wherever they choose to live. And I would like to be proactive in communication with park workers. If the format of that would be a parks committee with a commissioner as chair and park workers on that, if that's something that the park board has a structure with employees on the committee with that, I would be open to that. And in the meantime, I will be reaching out to people working in the park board and asking them about what they do and what is successful and what is not. I want to have conversations with individuals and just as a commissioner to learn about what you do.
Yes, I think the Labor Standards Board is the only appropriate response to a strike. In 142 years, the Park Board has never struck. This was the first instance. I believe it was a failure on the Park Board as a way to undermine workers and workers' rights. The money was absolutely available, and to ensure that that doesn't happen, that workers are protected, a Labor Standards Board is essential. It is essential. My mom is in the audience today. She is an AFSCME local chapter president. And I am the product of what happens when you organize and you are led by strong individuals who care about workers and who care about the families of those workers. I believe that the park board needs to be proactive, not just with this, but the way that we implement this in our culture. We are a labor and a union town, and I think that our park board needs to reflect those values in order to make sure that this never happens again.
Thank you. I am very intrigued by what the St. Paul School Board is doing. They say that because according to Minnesota law, it very clearly states that the process of how contracts between public employers and public employees and employers, are reached. And that process does not have a role for the mayor, for the president of the park board, and I'm really sorry, but not even President Trump. And one of the aspects, though, of that process is that they actually have mediation in separate rooms and even separate buildings. I have to say that our superintendent did request that we meet in one room. I'm very grateful to the IUNA administration person, Kevin Prentice, for being there. And through his observation of that process and everything, within 36 hours, the strike was settled, and the union had voted on it. So having eyes on it is essential. Where that process takes place, like I say, I would like to study the Minnesota law and how the St. Paul is dealing with that. Thank you.
Meg, thank you so much. Matthew.
Yeah, I guess overall, I really believe the job of leadership is to empower the best workers and instill a solid culture centered around a clear and simple mission. With that obviously comes clear goals and clear metrics, and I think part of that is giving people the opportunity to see the value of their work, the value of how their work benefits the community, and seeing the results, and hopefully getting some personal satisfaction from that. And I also feel that they should be well rewarded and well paid. So if I guess I'm not fully informed about this subject, I haven't given it a ton of thought. I'm glad that the strike was settled when I wasn't there. But I would definitely be open to anything that would get more engagement from the employees and give them more satisfaction and more shared, support and motivation behind, and more alignment behind their work.
Matthew.
It's perfectly legal under Colorado, by the way, but thanks.
Matthew, thank you so much. Again, before we continue to the next question.
Hi, my name is Chris Meyer. So Minnesota has the biggest source of carbon pollution from its transportation sector. So the state has set a VMT reduction target, or vehicle miles traveled reduction target, of reducing their VMT by 20% by 2050 in order to bring the carbon pollution down from the transportation sector. Hennepin County and the city of Minneapolis have both adopted their own VMT reduction targets to help the state reach that goal. But the park board controls a lot of roads, a lot of vehicles, a lot of parking lots, but they haven't done anything to help the state accomplish its goal. So my question is, would you support a VMT reduction target for the park board?
I appreciate that you brought up the fact that the state has these targets. I think, that's something that Minneapolis is currently getting wrong. It's if we push people from driving 4 miles from their house to wherever they have to go, and now they live in the suburbs and they got to go 40 miles, we're actually not meeting state targets, even if we may be getting closer to some municipal targets. In 2018, I installed solar on my roof because I really believe in its value. I drive an electric vehicle. I rode my bike tonight, but I will say as a father, I drive my kids to hockey. There's no possible way for me to get to hockey without having access to roads. There's no possible way for my kids to participate in sports and other things. I mean, it goes back to equity. I know that in other neighborhoods, kids walk to the parks and they have their own, they definitely need to be able to get there safe. But I believe that the strongest cities are ones that value an efficient transportation system that allows people to get there and do what they need to do and conduct commerce in any method of transportation that they choose.
Thank you. Yes, I would be very supportive of that. I have to brag about the fact that we opened our first net zero building at Graco, and staff is continually adding those types of elements into every one of our projects. And I'm very grateful for it, and hope that it will continue. And I hope also that we will be continuing to get funding for those types of things, which is something that is a very important thing to me, and that is finding more alternative revenue sources. And that right now, over 81% of our budget is on you, the taxpayer, and we need to relieve you of that. And during my term, there has been 8 new revenue sources that have been created.
Thank you, Chris. Yes, I do. I support reducing vehicle miles traveled by increasing access via public transit. I think that that's a really important aspect, especially for Northsiders who live above a majority of those lush areas in our park system. I can't remember who I was talking to, maybe it was Dan in the room, but a Northside kid that he brought to the lake didn't know there were lakes in the city. And that it's abysmal. Like, we live in one of the most beautiful places, the most beautiful cities. So increasing access while reducing vehicle miles traveled is where I would focus on that. And I believe that that starts with public transit.
So Chris, thank you for that question. And I would support incentivizing people with vehicle miles traveled and make it something that we all work towards as a community. I think that would be that would bring us together. I also think it would be another good way to have intergovernmental or inter-organizational partnerships to make sure that buses actually can get to parks at times when youth need it, and when they. So it will increase their participation. That would be one thing that could happen. The number 7 bus at Worth Park, for example, could be transporting a lot more kids throughout throughout North Minneapolis and all the way to Seward. We could be looking for more and more opportunities to be energy efficient.
Yeah, Chris, 100%. It is one of our park board goals to act boldly on climate change. Reducing carbon wherever we can, and vehicle miles traveled is number 1, as you mentioned. It's a huge aspect that we have control under. As commissioner, I push for pedestrianizing our parkways more frequently, getting folks out of their vehicles into our parks, kind of imagining how we use those typical spaces. I fought for, when we were increasing funding for maintenance for our parkways, I fought to reduce road miles for our parkways. That would also save you, the taxpayer, money. I fought for, and one of the budget items that I fought for initially, and the park board has now done, is a study of tracking kind of how folks reach our parks. So now we have a better understanding of how people get there, and we can better understand how to change that. We have a climate imperative. We have to reduce as many vehicle miles traveled as possible.
Tom, thank you so much. Adam, you have the mic.
Yes, I do support a VMT. In addition to just reducing our carbon emissions, one of the best ways to do that is to expand our greenway network. So I would love for the park board to be an active partner in the creation of the north side and south side greenways that I believe are currently being led by the city or the county. I know the county owns them, but anywho. In addition to that, I would love to electrify our fleet, as well as many of our tools that are still gas powered, and installing solar on park facilities so that we know that the energy that they're charged with is clean. In addition to that, last thing is introducing more public transit to our park system. Mass transit is the way to go when you need to get a lot of people to places.
Adam, thank you. Avery, you have the mic.
Thank you, Chris, for that question. My answer is a yes and. So yes, I do support this. And also, I am wondering how we are able to bring in voices outside of the ages that you see here, right? How are we bringing in youth voices? How are we bringing in more senior voices to see like what works for them in order for them to still have access to some of those spaces? So just having experience with Minneapolis public schools, our kids rode the city buses, right? And then now you're getting into some things that are we can say are out of our control, but really it is, because they come to us in the morning during the day, and then they leave, and then they have access to the park systems. But it's really important that we're in partnership to really understand, like, how do we work together to make sure that, one, with us lowering what you're saying that we need to lower, how are we making sure that it's still safe for our kids to be able to get to and from no matter what time of day it is? How is it still safe for our seniors to be able to get to and from no matter what time of day it is? So like those are the things that my mind is going to. Like, yes, I agree that yes, we need to be lowering the carbon, but also how are we making sure that we're doing that and keeping in mind all folks who use the park systems? So that's what I would say to that. Thank you for your question.
I'm gonna actually tag off what you actually just kind of brought up. So as a parent, safety is a core value in my household, and I know that in many other families that that's probably gonna be the same take. So as our parks and our recreation spaces are meant to bring families and the communities together, especially children and elders, what specific plans or strategies do you all have to improve safety in high-risk parks and facilities? How will you ensure families can truly feel secure when enjoying our public spaces? And are there any ongoing or upcoming safety initiatives you're committed to implement?
Yes, thank you for that question. So like I said, to me, stories are super important. My dad was one of those dads where he didn't let me go anywhere without him. But the one place that he let me go was to the park. And I grew up in the Falwell Park, played basketball in Creekview Park. So some of the things that I found that really supported with that safety and that safety net in terms of like my dad was the community, the relationships that he's building. So I think that there are some parks where families don't necessarily have to worry about safety just because of where the neighborhood is. And sometimes you hear folks from those neighborhoods saying that our parks need to be safe. So I am interested in hearing from, well, what are you all doing in your neighborhoods, or what initiatives do you all have within your parks that we can bring to some of our, I'm just gonna be transparent, some of our Northside parks, to be able to make sure that our Northside families feel just as maintained and just as level-headed in terms of when it comes to safety. How are we able to come together to be able to hear what are some of those things that are happening, to then be able to bring some of those things to our Northside Park? So thank you for your question.
Avery, thank you. Adam, you have the mic.
Yeah, so I will never stop singing the Street Reach team's praises. I believe that they are vital to our public safety in parks. Not only can they provide preventive measures, but I've heard stories of them actively addressing violent and disruptive behavior. I think the other half of the equation is making sure that we have well-maintained infrastructure to make sure that our parks can stay safe, and that means like making sure our streetlights work, making sure essentially parents can watch their kids. It's just kind of those small things that can help us interact better with our parks.
There are about 24 different things that I have in my mind, but I'll stick with 3 right now. Number 1, we need a comprehensive lighting plan. Too many of our parks are too dark too often, and we need to make sure that our parks are well lit so that kids can use those throughout the process, and it kind of deters crime. 2, we need to continue to invest in our youth. Obviously, we need to, in particular, I would really like to boost our funding for Teen Teamworks, which is our employment pathway program for kids. That funding, that we got extra funding from the state, thanks to Senator Fate, and that is going away in 2027. We need to increase that and extend that. Number 3, I think we have to acknowledge as elected officials that gun violence is the #1 leading cause of death for our children. It's the guns, and we need to use our voice to bring gun violence to an end. We can partner as a park board with folks like Moms Demand Action to get things like trigger locks in our community centers and things of that nature.
Thank you for this really important question. As a mom, I worry about my kid. I used to worry about my kids coming home at night if they were enjoying the parks after dark, and I think that there are several things that we could do to increase safety in our parks. One is Street Reach and violence prevention. Beef up that program. Also, I would like to see more multi-generational eyes on the park. Really encourage retirees and people who just know the neighborhood and make a space for them to be in the parks, in the rec centers. Lorraine Smaller had a park program in North Minneapolis where she encouraged kids to just come to the picnic table and do an arts and crafts. I think that they're having relationships and eyes on each park and making sure, fostering those relationships as a commissioner is an important way to do that. Also encouraging safe transportation or safe passage to and from parks and homes.
So I'll reiterate what I said a little bit earlier, but the current park board moved youth from a #1 priority to a #3 priority. I believe youth are a #1 priority, and that when we are given proposals, we are to act from our priorities. So it is my priority to take care of young people, and I will do that through free childcare in our park systems, because that is a huge barrier for people with children. Eliminating youth fees in programs so that we expand access, and also expanding teen teamworks, which is also cut under this park administration.
Amber, thank you so much. Meg, you have the mic.
Thank you. A 13-year-old was murdered at Falwell. 10 blocks away is our Upper Harbor, which is not activated yet. Same thing, Boom Island, massive. Anyway, won't go into all of it. Anyway, and right across the street is Graco. Neither one of those have funding for activation. And that thing, I have to say, I'm very proud of the fact that I basically did a dog and pony show to numerous locations. I think it was 6 different presentations I made to support those 2 initiatives, Graco and Upper Harbor, to be funded in this year's budget. And I ask all of you to watch us very carefully. As Commissioner Olson and I know, in the very, very last meeting, the least transparent of all, we lost 3 youth workers. Okay, so I just want you to make sure, hold us accountable to that. Those 2 things are funded at this point in time, and that is essential.
Thank you so much. Matthew, you have the mic.
Cool. Yeah. No, I always use the parks, but until I became a dad, I didn't really realize how valuable they were to my daily survival. I tried to get them there every day, and we even bought a house right next to the park. And that's why I really want to make attendance one of our main goals. I feel that if there's more people in the parks, they are going to be safer. One of the things I'm a dad, so I read these, kid help books, and right now it's all about the fight to get kids off the screens and valuing free play, and I follow Jonathan Haidt and his Anxious Generation, and I've been doing some of those events, and I've been able to actually, it's been really educational because I've also been partnering with people all around the city, and I got to go up to Larry and be smaller and learned about how the culture on the north side was so much more centered on free play, and I actually felt a little bit jealous because they had that. And Lorraine is a real nice park, but I know some of the other parks aren't quite as nice. And so I also believe it's really important to make sure that they can safely get there without parents so that they can play together. Again, free play without parents.
Should the park board continue taking money from Excel and Center Points, allowing our big utilities to avoid cutting their own carbon emissions to fund a program that for its first several years didn't plant any new trees as intended? And what alternatives would you support?
Matthew.
Me and Avery just get to start every time, right? Yeah, I guess I'm not fully familiar with that and how it works. I do believe in fiscal responsibility. That's again why I believe in setting metrics that really make sure that we're performing and fulfilling the duties of our mission most cost effectively and getting the most number of people there. I do know that as we improve buildings, as we improve infrastructure, that we should be really focused on sustainable improvements that we can do that are cost effective, and we should be making those over time. And every time that we have an improvement, that should definitely be considered. But I guess at this time, I'm pretty excited about any money that would currently come in, and I value any other alternative revenue streams.
Thank you. Meg, you have the mic.
Thank you, Jess. What you're talking about is the carbon offset credit program. And there's very specific criteria to participate in that. there has to be proven evidence that you have already dealt or addressed your carbon footprint. And yes, Excel and Centerpoint have proven that they are doing it. Are they the best? No, they're not. But we have identified, those types of partners. And what is exciting about it is that it is retroactive in the sense of any trees that we've planted, that's what we get credit for, and we are able to double the amount of trees that we have. The most important thing about that program, though, is that it's about the longevity of the tree. We don't get all of the funding right up front. It's every 5 years, something to that effect, anyway, until year 25, and that's when we get our final amount, because that is truly when carbon is fully being captured.
No, it's a form of greenwashing. It's a way for our utility companies to offset their own harmful practices into our community. I think going back to the question I believe that you asked earlier about ecologic practices, we need to invest in opportunities to improve our systems. So again, encouraging our park commissioners to hire not one, perhaps two people that can support our ecologic plans. And also, again, working with indigenous communities to return the land back to how it rightfully should be. I think that the carbon offset program is touted as something that it just isn't. And so I'm proud to be a commissioner that will stand 10 toes down on that fact.
Amber, thank you so much. Mary, you have the mic.
Could you repeat the question again? Is it about
my question is, should the park board continue taking money from Excel and Centerpoint that allows our big utilities not to reduce their own emissions and for a program that's intended to plant trees, but in its first several years to not plant any new trees, and what alternatives would you support?
So I support the planting of new trees. I support I support accountable carbon offset programs. I support replacing of the emerald ash borer throughout the city. I support a tree canopy that's healthy, especially in our heat island areas. The Green City Accord, is that what that's referring to? So I would research there's not just one. So I would research other areas that would support tree planting in our parks.
Mary, thank you so much. Tom, you have the mic.
Yeah, absolutely not. I voted against this every single opportunity I've had a chance to. It is greenwashing. It is allowing these mega corporations to use our image to kind of make themselves look better. And the fact is, I think we just saw in our budget, it only raised something like $90,000. That's really not much at all. It doesn't really plant many trees. And if we're going to sell our soul, it should at least be worth it, right? So I think as some alternatives are a couple different things I'd like to see. I think we could, as a park board, we could seed our new endowment fund that could start to pay interest rates back to us that would plant a lot more trees than this current fund. I would also like to make us look bigger, work with our state partners to declare a climate emergency, give us authority to tax things such as flights coming into MSP. That's our land. We should, we tack $1 onto every single ticket. We would be able to plant, 10,000 more trees a year, right? So we have to think bigger.
Yeah, so I am also opposed to the carbon offset credit scheme. It's exactly that, a scheme. It's greenwashing for corporations that are actively destroying the health of our planet and our communities. As for alternative revenue sources, I would be in favor of reinstating a tree levy. We had that for about a decade, and that was vital to restoring our urban tree canopy after a tornado went through in North Minneapolis. In addition to that, similar to what Tom said, I would love to work with our partners at the city, state, federal level to implement some sort of carbon fee or tax that can fund these tree plantings. And I also will never I have 10 seconds to wrap up. So if I had another 15, maybe I talk about the benefits of trees, but they're amazing.
Yes, so the first thing that my mind went to, Tess, and thank you for your question, was intent versus impact. From what it sounds like, the board was potentially trying to work with experts, but it sounds like the impact of it didn't land well. Okay, so my mind goes to how can we, one, tap into our youth, right? If we already have programs that are in place to be able to do some of these services, how can we tap into some of those resources that we're already doing or in the past have done versus looking to some of these big organizations that are seen as experts. So yeah, that's the first thing that my brain went to. And very similar to Matt, looks like I need to be doing some research, but yeah, intent versus impact goes a very long way. So thank you for your question.
Avery, thank you.
This is an area that's experiencing rapid population growth. There have been no recent park acquisitions in the area as served by Lakeview Park, and Tuttle Elementary School in the Humble neighborhood is in the process of being sold for far less than the cost to replace its amount of public land. This sale will expand the largest park gap in Minneapolis and worsen the overcrowding at Lakeview Park. What, if anything, should MPRD do to address the largest park gap in Minneapolis and ensure that all Minneapolis residents have access to adequate park space, especially the shelters?
Thank you for your question, Zach. I think it's important to make sure that, one, we understand what's happening in our neighborhoods to be able to diversify the resources. That's one. And the only way that we are able to do that is that, yes, our meetings are open or the park board's meetings are open, but how are we also going to the neighborhoods to really hear from the neighbors? And that would be like the first thing that my brain would go to is how do we open it up to getting outside resources outside of what the budget allows and allocates, because as you heard, there is an equity matrix in terms of like which parks get infrastructure or infrastructure support or infrastructure updates. So yes, there is a system, but I'm always open to hearing how can we tap into what can we do to elaborate or do something different within the system. So within my 45 seconds, Zach, that's what I got for you. Thank you for your question.
Yeah, I would love to work with the city and sort of work around their vacant lots program. Right now, they have a vacant lots program where they own a plot of land, and then you can have a community garden on it. I would love to see that. I would love to see that role expanded to more different types of green spaces and working with the community to make sure those green spaces meet that community's priorities and values. But I think that's going to require a lot of collaboration with the city that I'm ready to follow through on.
Adam, thank you. Tom?
Yeah, so number one, I think we have to complete our grand rounds to improve connectivity for that area. Two, so the park board, we're very cognizant of that. And we kind of wait, we kind of bide our time until, land pops up that we, can make suitable. And, kind of in the meantime, I have seen since I've been here that we have kind of expanded in places that already have, what they're looking for. So I think, I would not be opposed to doing something like maybe we buy, if we were gonna buy land somewhere else, we kind of, wait and we kind of create a sort of internal fund of being able to be more proactive rather than just biding our time. But I do think Southeast, I see it continuing to develop and grow and move a bit from industrial to residential, and I think we'll have those opportunities. It's just a question of if we can kind of spark that.
Tom, thank you so much. Mary?
Hi, thank you for that question. I used to live over on 16th and Talmadge, and I understand that there is a dearth of parks there. And Van Cleve is great, but it's overcrowded as well as the population is growing. And it is on the edge of an industrial area. Depending on how I don't know, I'm sorry, I don't know the details about how the sale of Tuttle School will go, but depending on the sale, there could be some parkland dedication fees that could go to that local to near that area, as it would be development and park probably. But also I agree with Tom, if I'm on the board, should you elect me, I would be looking in that area for increased connectivity, including the ground downs, and also more parkland availability in that warehouse industrial area.
Mary, thank you so much. Amber, you're up tonight.
Yeah, the systems that both Tom and Mary mentioned are similar to how I would function, and in terms of finding and creating those spaces. I was also a U of M student, and I know how important it is to be able to get out and feel like a majority of the city. When you're able to go to a park, you don't feel like you're in a city. So I think being able to work with those connections, work with fellow commissioners to be able to prioritize that funding, to work with those community partners. I mentioned previously my work and relationship with Angela Conley and Aureen Chowdhury, and my hope is to create and continue to build upon those partnerships so that the idea of expanding or creating a park in Como is beneficial to everyone involved.
Amber, thank you so much. Meg?
I indicated that I have been doing a dog and pony show or PowerPoints to various organizations around town, and it was referred to as Mind the Gap. And that is the thing, is we know where these gaps are, and that is something that we are very proactively working at. I found this absolutely fascinating, the Parks Power overview here and everything. We have put so many resources into South and Southwest and everything, and we need to prioritize, or we have prioritized, to what's called our system equity investment. So the missing link is huge. The tower side, Bridal Veil, those are evidence that yes, we are filling in the gap. There's visions there, and to activate them is what we are intent to do through our system equity investments.
Meg, thank you. Matthew?
Yeah, thanks, Zach, for your question. It's actually the neighborhood parks are the big reason why I live here. You know, I just love that aspect of Minneapolis, and you don't really know until you move to Milwaukee how valuable it is when you come back and like, oh yeah, you can actually meet your neighbors. But that's actually why, you know, my experiences, especially since I moved back, have really been transformative in how I think about the parks. Because, you know, I guess I really see the neighborhood parks as the seed of all the great things in the city. Like, my personal example is we were playing in the park one day, my daughter met a friend, I met a neighbor, you know, he's become a really good friend, we have fires together. Our block is safer, like I'm the one who cleans the storm grates, and he's the one who comes over and helps people cut their, you know, he's the guy who's got the snow blower, you know, and snow blows everybody's street. And I guess I just see the opportunity, if we do this right, and if we focus on attendance, and we focus on really making smart investments and smart choices and getting the community together, that we can really scale that experience that I've had for everyone in the community. And our neighborhood parks and the active communities are the perfect resource to begin with.
Introduce yourself and then pose your question.
My name is Sean Fitzgerald, and I have spent the last 21 years as part of a very small volunteer group called Minneapolis Park Watch. I'm here to provide more information about the controversy at Lake Hiawatha. I appreciate your comment about facts needing to get out. For example, I'm sure you all know that water is in Lake Hiawatha on average for 4.4 days. So when you really come up with a miracle that's going to clean up that lake, let me know. You could sell it for a lot of money. In the plan, there is the plan that's been adopted by this board, the current board. There is an environmental assessment worksheet. And I live in the community. I'm in Colburn. I own a house in Stafford. And I know how divisive it is. I'm offended to hear again portrayed as a division between Native Americans and African you'll know that this is for white people. It's a white people deal going on down at Lake Iowa. I do feel I owe some debt to Solomon Hughes, who managed to get into the bathrooms in the law clubhouse in 1952, the year before I was born, and saved me from growing up in a totally segregated South Minneapolis. So I think, to go back to the first question, environmental assessment worksheets like the ones called for in your plan ask questions like, what species are on this site? What's going to happen to them during construction? Right now it's going to be 2 years long. And what species will live after your construction is done? The park board approved it. It is not in the timeline any longer. And at the August meeting, a staff member said that there would be no environmental assessment worksheet in EAW. This project was approved at 43 million minus 25% plus 50%. Today, with 40% inflation, according to Mortensen's Minneapolis Construction Index, that brings us up to a range of 45 million to 90 million on the only plan so far approved. Subsequently, there have been 3 more concepts, and I believe the board is poised to adopt it, the chosen next plan, in December. So if you get that plan, or any plan, will you support the environmental assessment worksheet process? It's a yes or no question.
Yeah, what is the question then? There was a lot. I agree with a lot of what you said.
I'm just saying, the board has already called for an environmental assessment worksheet. Staff said at an open house that they weren't going to do it. I'm just hoping for all the various groups, from homeowners to walkers to bird photographers, that all of these constituencies, I think, would like to know the details of this plan.
Yeah.
And an environmental assessment worksheet, which is already in the approved master plan, would do it. And I just think it would be very illuminating and healing.
Yeah. I'm not fully aware of that specific part of it, but I am for 100% transparency with everybody. I think that that actually has been the issue that's mostly. I was originally for the plan, and then I started to kind of go against it because I just started to learn more about the facts. So the more that I talk to different people, and it seems that there probably is a solid compromise. There probably is a good roadmap to fixing some of the water quality, but I don't think we're there yet. And to spend $100 million or $60 million or somewhere in that range of what they think just seems a bit out of line with our current budgets. Overall, I really, obviously, I think everyone we should be mindful of our natural resources, and I've got to go.
Thank you, Matthew. Meg?
To answer you succinctly, yes. I'm very surprised that there would not be, but I will investigate that, and I cannot imagine that we would not move forward without that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amber?
Yes. Yes, I'd support seeing the environmental impacts of the process of the project as well. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you. Tom?
Yeah, I'd have to check in with staff. I think if they have good reason to move away from that, I'd be happy to consider that. Quite often, really good projects get delayed by, increase in unnecessary bureaucracy, and I think, if we move forward with a plan that we know reducing golf, we know restoring wetland is going to be better for the environment, we should just do that. But, I'd be happy to look at it more.
Yeah, I'd love to hear the reason why they don't plan on doing an EAW. That said, I would love for one to occur.
Thank you. And Avery?
Thank you for your question. Yes, I would support this.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sean. Thank you, everyone, for all your your answers and time and everything. Before we continue with closing statements, we have an individual representative on behalf of, Michael Wilson present. Please go ahead and take the mic.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Adrian. I'm just going to say on behalf of Michael. So thank you to Parks and Power for hosting these valuable forums to discuss the future of our parks. I wish I could participate in this evening's discussion, but in addition to campaigning to be one of your next park commissioners, I'm currently involved in a unionization drive at my current employer at the University of Minnesota, and I'm particularly needed there this evening. I have dedicated my career in public service and public goods, ranging from environmental activism, environmental justice in East Phillips, to my role as a lifeguard within MPRB, where I also helped successfully unionize my fellow co-workers, working up to overseeing citywide aquatics program. I understand citywide park operations from the ground up, and will bring both practical experience and working class values to the park board. My commitment to our parks comes from seeing their power to advance health and justice for working families. As a commissioner, I will champion issues ranging from increasing transit accessibility to our parks, strengthening our Rec Plus program, which is vital to so many working parents and families, partnering with our schools to ensure all third graders receive swimming lessons and learn drowning prevention skills, making our parks resilient to the climate crisis we are living through, including challenging greenwashing programs like our Urban Tree Canopy Carbon Offset Credit Program, and of course, ensuring the workers who have built and maintained our parks are treated with dignity and respect. I have built a wide and diverse coalition of support across Minneapolis. I am endorsed by the DFL, DSA, numerous labor unions such as SEIU, the Building Trades Council, MFE, Laguna and AFSCME, who represent our park workers, and elected officials across all layers of government, such as MPS School Board Member Greta Callahan, City Council President Elliot Payne, County Commissioner Angela Connolly, State Rep Samantha Sensormiro, and Congresswoman Elton Omar. I hope to count you all as supporters come Election Day. Please check out my website, michaelforparks.org, to learn more about me. And again, I apologize that I'm not able to be with you all this evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time. And now we are going to move on to closing statements. And to begin, Avery, you have the mic.
One, I just want to say thank you all for coming. As an educator, our favorite thing to say in the building is it's almost Friday. So just to close out, I just want to say that again, I am a Northsider running to be for a Park Board at Large Commissioner. Some of the things that I'm going to stand on no matter what, whether I get it or I don't, is accessibility, sustainability, and climate resilience. It's super important that we leave spaces for generations to come. And the only way that we do that is do it together, through partnership, through building relationships. And that is something that I'm going to stand on no matter what. So thank you again, and I hope you all have a great evening.
Thank you so much, Avery. Adam?
Thank you. Thank you. Is this on? Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Vanessa, for hosting us. Thank you for Parks and Power for having this event, and thank you to the Chambers Hotel for letting us use their space. We desperately need new park board leadership, not only to prevent future incidents like we've seen over the past few years, but to build upon the legacy of the park board and expanding the programs that deliver for working families, like the community gardening program, the Rec Plus child care program, and so much more. I have experience in both hands-on, as an organizer, as well in terms of policy, serving on the city's Community Environmental Advisory Commission. And I think we are going to need new commissioners with plans and action rather than just vibes to take on the challenges in the coming years.
Adam, thank you. Tom?
Yeah, thank you all for being here. Thank you for sitting through this very long process. Our parks are really so fantastic and so wonderful because of people like you engaged in events like this. These last 4 years have in a lot of ways been difficult for me. I've lost a lot of important votes that I've kind of put my heart and soul into. But seeing these other folks up here, seeing these fellow commissioners, I'm inspired by the talent and the folks who are invested in our system and in what's to come. My day job, I work for the Minnesota House CFL. I've had over 12 years of experience working in and around government and politics. And, I hope to continue to bring that experience to our park board, to represent you, to keep pushing ourselves forward. Thank you all.
Tom, thank you so much. Mary?
Thank you to Parks and Power, and thank you to all the citizens here, all the people here who are interested enough and care about our parks as much as you do. I love our parks too. I'm in the parks every day. I want to step up for our parks as your commissioner because I bring the experience in multifaceted ways that I think will represent you well. I'm the only mother in this race, and I am a teacher. I'm an ESL teacher by licensure, and I work with immigrant families, and I work with BIPOC families in our park system right now. People trust me because I listen to them, and I hope that you see that in me today, because I look forward to talking with you, learning about what you want to see in our parks. I think together we can make an even better Minneapolis park system.
Mary, thank you so much. Amber?
Thanks everybody for being here tonight and for taking your time to answer to ask some really important questions. I am again proud to be your only DFL Labor and Women Winning endorsed candidate. As a North Sider and youth support specialist, I am proud to be in this race to represent a city that has, among so many other great things, one of the best park systems in the nation. I hope to earn your first choice of vote in this race so that we are able to create a Minneapolis that reflects the beautiful, vibrant community that we are a part of. I look forward to engaging youth, creating opportunities and streams for our girls to grow up strong in our park system. Our youth are the future, and I can't wait to serve. Thank you.
Amber, thank you so much. Meg?
Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Parks and Power, for continuing your advocacy for parks. I really do appreciate it. I have been humbled to serve you for 12 years. I was the president for 3 years this term, and I have to say it was a very high-functioning board. We passed legacy initiatives, stormwater, parkways, and an endowment. Those are huge things. No other park board has ever done that before. So I would like to return so that I can work on the things that I am most passionate about, and that is equitable access, which is called system equity investment, growing our tree canopy, and also to address the need for alternative revenue. Those are the things that are critically important, and I ask for your #1 vote, and I hope that you have a great day, and make sure to look at our artwork.
Meg, thank you so much. Matthew?
Cool, yeah. Matt Doug Willow again. I hope to earn your #1 vote. Honestly, I've lived all over, and I really believe that Minneapolis is the greatest city that I've ever been. I'm committed here. My kids go to school at MPS, and I'm really dedicated to the city, and I think I can make a difference. I actually believe that we should rebrand the city. I think the brand has suffered a little bit of late, but I think we should rebrand it as the greatest winter city. Mostly because I think it starts from a point of agreement where we can all agree that it is the greatest winter city, and either you believe it like me or you want to believe it because you live here. Either way, we have to agree. So, I think we start there, but then we really start to use that winter as a real point of understanding and compromise and reality. And I think that we have to move forward with reality. That's why I'm really appreciative of a lot of the other candidates. I'm glad to hear that kids are a priority. But as a parent, I can tell you from firsthand experience and from talking to other parents that there's a lot that we do that just doesn't work for parents, doesn't work for our logistics, doesn't work for our lifestyle, doesn't work for our tech. And that's why my roadmap is really, really simple. I will admit that I don't know everything. And I've got the degrees, but I haven't been doing it for a while, and I really do want to sit there. My goal for year 1 is to learn to focus on parents and logistics, and to fix the things that I've done professionally, successfully for a long time, which is make systems easier for people to engage with. I believe ultimately by reducing friction, we increase attendance, which should be the #1 benchmark for our parks. And I'm done. Oh, it just happened.
I want to thank our audience for your participation and for taking time out of your day to be here and be present. And before we go, each of you have a survey, either underneath your chair or somewhere close to your chair. If you do not, there's some up at the table up here. If you could use your phone to scan the QR code and fill that out before you leave tonight, that would be amazing. So again, I want to thank everybody for being here. We are grateful for your presence and your energy. Please feel free to have some conversation before you go and get home safe. Thank you so much.